Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you can see from the title, background, and thumbnail, we are talking about the brand new horror movie Evil Dead Burn. So this has actually been one of my most anticipated horror films of the year, especially after we got the disappointment that was Scream 7. The next big horror franchise entry is going to be Evil Dead Burn. So I've been super excited for this movie. To give you a little bit of backstory of my Evil Dead love, I've loved pretty much every single Evil Dead movie. I think this is now it is the most consistent horror franchise of all of them. It used to be Scream, it used to be Chucky, now it's just Evil Dead. Scream and Chucky have kind of fallen off.
Fuck you.
So obviously been really excited. I was one of the people who actually really enjoyed Evildeadrise that came out about 2 or 3 years ago. I thought it was a fine middle of the road Evil Dead movie. So going into Burn, I was excited because we have, now we have new people. Every single movie is going to be kind of an anthology based kind of thing. And I kind of just tried the best I can. I tried the best I could to stay away from any of the trailers. I only really watched that one long take sequence trailer and a couple of clips that would show up on my TikTok feed every now and then. So I kind of walked in this movie, I wouldn't say completely blind, but mostly blind. And so went in yesterday, saw it, came out, and I had to sit on it for a minute. I'm not going to lie. I had to sit on it for about a day or so because this movie, I will say first off, let's get into it. This movie is very unique for the Evil Dead franchise. I think probably the most unique since the remake. It just does a lot of bold decisions with the not only the lore of the Necronomicon, does it with the Deadites, it also does it with just the way the movie's structured. This movie, in the best way I can describe it, is if you took the movie Ready or Not with Samara Weaving and just put Deadites in there. That's what this movie essentially is. It's more of a family drama with like some Deadites that pop in every so often, and you just get some like crazy nasty gore and blood. And honestly, that's not a bad thing in my opinion. I know some people are going to walk away being maybe a little bit mixed or maybe a little bit disappointed in the sense that this is not like a balls out gore fest like the remake was, but I enjoyed the story here. I enjoyed the characters that we follow here. I enjoyed the main girl, Alice. I thought she did a good job. I liked the whole family drama that we had going on here. Like I said, it very much is like the movie Krampus, Ready or Not, with some Deadites sprinkled in. It's like that's kind of what it reminded me of. You had the family drama and the whole dynamic between the tension with the family like you did in the movie Krampus, and then you also get some of the main chick Alice, because she is not a part of this family. She was married into this family from her deceased husband, so it's one of those, it's like now she has to fight against the family because they're Deadites now. And so it's like, again, Ready or Not, Krampus mixed with a little bit of Deadites. And I thought that was great. Honestly, I thought it was great. I thought the Deadites, while they were used in the way that we've never seen before, so I think that's going to turn some people off if you're like hardcore, I want my Deadites to be like this. I don't mind if you change the Deadites. Of course, I have my particular favorite version of the Deadites, which is the old school Raimi versions where they're a little bit whimsy, a little bit comical.
Hey, I'll swallow your soul. I'll swallow your soul. I'll swallow your soul.
And so it's like, okay, that's how I like them. But I don't mind then how they are in the remake. I don't mind how they are in Rise. And I definitely don't mind how they are here in Burn. But I think the way they utilize them is very vicious and very mean spirited more than it is comical. I mean, you have your comical moments. There's this grandma character in the movie who has dementia, and she has some dark comedy moments in the movie. They didn't personally make me laugh, but I could see how some people find them really funny. But so you have a little bit of comedic things in here with the Deadites. You have a little bit of comedic things in with characters like the grandma. So, but it's very dark comedy. The best way I can describe this movie is the most serious Evil Dead film, possibly next to the remake. I think the remake is a lot more darker, more gross, more vicious than this is. But this is like right up there on its ass, just like touching it and feeling it. Like, I know a lot of people complained, and I felt this way a little bit too with Rise. I thought it was a watered down, like kind of scaled back version of the remake where it was wanting to be the remake, but it didn't want to full send it like the remake did. And I can understand that. Some people walked away being like, this is a very middle of the road, watered down Evil Dead film. This one does the opposite. This one's like, no, we're going to go full balls to the wall, crazy, right there with the remake. And I loved it for that. So I thought the gore, I thought the kills, Deadites, I thought they were used tremendously. Like I said, I also enjoyed some of the lore we have here because they do talk about the book. And the book, I don't want to spoil which book they're talking about mostly in this movie because it's kind of a little bit of a surprise, at least in my opinion, I thought it was. And so it was one of those where I'm like, okay, I was surprised by the book that they used. So I don't want to spoil the book, but it was interesting some of the lore that they decided they wanted to add to it. And I definitely think if you know any more details about where we have the next movie, Evil Dead Wrath, coming out next year, it's one of those where I think that movie is going to explore some of the lore that we've touched upon in here, because there's this character in the movie who's a very big piece of the family drama, and he himself is very tied to the Necronomicon. And I think because of the details we know about Wrath, I think Wrath is going to focus heavily on that character and basically be a prequel maybe to the whole franchise, but also maybe to this movie in particular. And I like that. I thought that was awesome. I also want to add that this is the most like unique camera wise that this movie has. It just has this most like I mean, as you saw in the trailer, there was this like one shot take that they showed in the trailer, and they have like 5 or 6 different one shot takes in this movie that is just so unique and just so interesting for this franchise, because again, you don't get much of that. I mean, you got a little bit of that like in the remake, and Rise had like a sequence or so, but this movie just like it has its unique camera angles to like there's this one sequence where they're fighting and it like transitions in through a mirror back into the real like action sequence. I think they showed it in the trailer. There's just so many cool set pieces, and like they do some really interesting fun things with the camera that like the Evil Dead universe is not used to this stuff. That's why I said this is the most like unique Evil Dead movie, and I don't know how hardcore fans are going to feel about it, because again, it's so different and it's so unique that I feel like a lot of people are going to be turned off of it. I remember back when the remake came out, people were the same way. They hated that it was so dark and it was so different and it was so like, you know, not the campy, silly, goofy Sam Raimi movies, that people hated it. Of course, now people love that remake. And so I'm curious if this movie, I don't know the reception. I haven't read any reviews, or you know, I've seen little tiny little like one remark kind of quotes on like TikTok and like Instagram and shit, but I haven't listened to anybody else's opinion on the movie. But I don't know how Evil Dead fans are going to feel about this movie. I don't know if they're going to really love this movie because of how different and bold and unique it is, or if they're going to hate all that stuff. As for me, I'm a big Evil Dead fan. I love all the movies. I thought it was cool that we had some very unique camera angles, unique story beats, that this is not just a silly, campy Evil Dead movie. It's actually a family drama. Like, I like some of those things, but I can completely understand if a hardcore Evil Dead fan who just, nope, I want Ash in my movies. I want silly, campy Deadites. I want this. I want that. I could totally understand why they wouldn't like this movie, because this is totally not at all that version of Evil Dead. This is more like the remake, and just it's a breath of fresh air. It's a bold new thing in the Evil Dead franchise, and I, for one, I dug it. I will say there is one character, and I don't want to spoil this, but I will say there is a certain Deadite in the end of this movie that I thought was honestly really cool. I thought it was a really cool design. I thought it was a really cool, unique spin on a Deadite. You know, we had our in Evil Dead Rise, our kind of new creature design where it was like all the Deadites formed together into this big giant rat king, and I thought that was meh. I've seen it before in other zombie movies. I've seen it before in Last of Us 2. You know, I feel like that design of all these creatures coming together to form one big one's been done before. But this one was so unique in the sense of I've never seen a Deadite do that before. I've never seen a design of a Deadite like that before. I've seen people kind of shit on it so far about the CGI on it looks terrible. I thought it looked fine, honestly. I'm not too particular with CGI stuff like that, but I thought it was a really cool, unique way, not only for that character to kind of call back to the title of the movie, but also just to kind of be a really good like metaphor for the movie. And there's a lot of metaphors that use with the Deadites and everything in this movie that I appreciated. Other than that, like I said, I enjoyed all the characters here. If I had to find a little bit of a problem, maybe a little bit of a nitpick, the first 15, 20 minutes, even though it has a badass opening, I wouldn't say it's better than Rise. I still think Rise has the best opening title sequence and the best opening. This is very much one of the better openings. I still think that first 15, 20 minutes is a little rocky, just a little rocky in the sense of getting the story going, getting us into these characters, getting us into these roles that we're obviously going to follow for the rest of the movie. So I thought the 15, 20 minutes was a little bit rocky, but not enough for me to be like, ooh, that's a bad opening. It's just, okay, not the strongest of openings, not the strongest of title cards, still good enough. Still was pretty cool. So no, I enjoyed this movie, man. Like, it doesn't take a lot for me to hate it, and I still, going back to what I said earlier, I still think Evil Dead is the most consistent in this franchise, regardless of how you feel. I think all 6 movies are great in and of themselves. And I will say, stay for the post-credit scene. There's 2 post-credit scenes. One wraps up one of the storylines in the movie, and the other one sets up something huge for the Evil Dead universe, which honestly, I'm gonna touch on it in a non-spoiler way. That post-credit scene was awesome. I can't wait to see the implements of that going forward and how that is going to that character and how that lore that they talked about with that character is going to be implemented in the future of where we're going with Wrath and maybe potentially other Evil Dead movies. So obviously, I'm very fucking excited. I think this is a great movie. I think you should go out and see it. It's another good entry in the Evil Dead saga. To me, it is better than Rise in the sense that this follows more of the remake template and is more closer to the original remake vibe than it is trying to just be its own thing. So you guys let me know what you think down below. If you love this movie.
Hello? Anyways.
You guys let me know what you think down below.
Rank them!
Hello? Is there anyone there? Hello?
Ah!